Mr. Dua, we are live now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to SOChem for getting the panelists on board, as well as the rest of you who are participating in this webinar. I think, in our considered opinion from the industry, there couldn't have been any better contemporaries than the current devastation which is happening because of the global pandemic, COVID-19. If you recall, way back in December and towards January and towards the Chinese New Year, nobody ever thought that this little place called Wuhan, where a lot of molecules in the pharmaceutical industry also come in the Hebei province in China, something which started off in a small little manner, took a global shape and has so far accounted for horrific deaths. I mean, you talk about 3 million people being infected, close to what almost around 2 lakh people having passed away, unfortunately. And in India, when it encompassed us towards March, the numbers gone up very significantly to close to about 20,000 and about 1,000 odd deaths. Now, with all of this, this grave pandemic, the one of its kind, after the devastating Spanish flu, if some of you recall, which accounted for infestation of 50 crore, 500 million people in way back in 1918, and accounted for 4.6 million deaths. Imagine, I mean, that's the kind of devastation a flu can cause. And out of that, mind you, India had not arrived at all. India was still under the British. And we lost close to about 1.8 million people, the highest in the world. So with this backdrop, I think after Spanish flu, if there's one pandemic which has, taken over the world like World War III, if you permit me to use the term, it's going to be a tough call for all of us in every walk of life, may it be the general population, may it be the industry, may it be agriculture, you name it. Every phase of our activity globally as well as in India is getting seriously impacted because of this. Now, going away from there, let's now come back to the healthcare industry, which is the most vital industry in the world. Any infestation or any healthcare issue crops up, the first thing which comes to anyone's mind, a commoner, a specialist, well-read, uneducated, semi-literate, is to go to the doctor. And what does the doctor do? Doctor say, oh, okay, I got to see you, I got to diagnose you, and then I got to take a call which medicines to give you. In case the infestation is very serious, then you move on to the hospital. Hospital is the biggest part of the healthcare industry today in India, which is going to be worth about $280 billion. And that is close to about $150 billion in hospitals. And then comes pharmaceutical industry, which is a very robust industry that most of us belong to. It's a very robust industry of almost around $45 billion, vertically divided 50-50 into domestic at $22 billion and exports at about $21 billion. We could have been $22 billion, but for the last week of March, where as chairman of Phomexil, I was very worried that we lost $1 billion worth of exports to practically all over the world. And my feeling today, sitting on 1st May, is that even in the month of May, because of no flights being available, practically next to nothing except the air cargo freighters by a lot of other private operators like FedEx, like Blue Dart, some flights going, by the national operator Air India, and also a couple of others as well, SpiceJet for that matter. So I'm again going to miss against $2 billion worth of exports consistently over the year per month to about $1 billion. So that's the kind of setback we as a country have. There's going to be, as I was discussing with Amit, another panelist from Theon Pharma managing director, was that there is going to be an impending drug shortages and all kinds and types of challenges. Now, with this backdrop, the subject that we've picked up is very contemporary, and it's going to be very engaging in terms of the fact that, how we as organizations in the entire healthcare sector, may it be hospitals, may it be diagnostic industry, may it be medical devices and APIs and formulations and so on and so forth. How are we addressing the crisis today? That's the first part of this webinar. And what are the technological innovations and solutions, as you must have seen from the subject, which will make us better, leaner, meaner, to manage ourselves once we taper off from this devastation of the pandemic, once the curve flattens off and we begin to get out of it. Hopefully by 3rd of May, that's 2 days from now, we would be in a position to see some flavor of it, particularly in the green zones. Orange zones will be strictly under watch and control. And red zone, you can imagine, as I was sharing with the other co-panelists, is going to take you a long haul of at least about the third week of May. And this is kind of logical, because I've studied South Korea very carefully. They didn't have a death in the last 2 days, right? Initial spike was there, and then it flattened off, and then it's declined. They were on a lockdown for 74 days. Same was the case with Hebei province as well as Wuhan, 74 days. And the curve there is completely flattened off. Whoever may say whatever, the fact of the life remains that some of the data coming in from China is great as well. And South Korea, of course, is amazingly good. Japan is also going to follow that. So if that is what it is, that 74 days is going to taper off, as far as red zones are concerned, in our considered opinion, it's going to follow the same pathway, 74 days, and I think then we should be out of it, hopefully. Hats off to the current political bureaucratic disposition that we've taken a very bold decision right in the beginning, in spite of an economic setback of a very high magnitude. We still swallowed the pill, and the results are there that we are much better off as compared to whole of the West, developed world, US, Europe, to some extent South Africa, Brazil, for that matter. So that being the case, we also have to look at the policy advocacy with the government of India, state governments, as to what needs to be done to make sure that the industry gets back on its feet. From a level of 8 days of 8.5% GDP growth, we are sliding currently in the green and orange zone to about 1%, if at all, and that's on a higher side in my considered opinion, and on to GDP negative growth for the first time in the last 2 decades or thereabouts, maybe more, to a negative growth of about 2-3% if this continues the way it's continuing currently. So therefore, what is it that we need to, in the industry, advocate to the government through ASSOCHAM, through FICCI, through PhD Chamber of Commerce and CII, where I'm deeply engaged in more. And then what is the level of preparedness of the government of India and the respective state governments to make sure that we kind of move on and in the next 6 months to a year's time, get back to a plus from a negative or a flat or a 1% GDP growth, and make sure that Indian juggernaut of growth of GDP comes back to at least about 2-3%, if not more. And second year, if all goes well, we should go back to our 5 to 6%, and third year on to our 7 to 8%. So that's the roadmap we see amongst all our associations. All the associations are practically on the same page in respect of this GDP growth. In this perspective, let me now call upon Mr. Amit Bansal, Managing Director of Theon Pharma, a very dynamic company in formulation. I'm very fond of this young boy who's been a trailblazer, and we would like to hear from him on whatever he chooses to speak on. Bangararaju, welcome aboard on the panel. What a pleasure seeing you. And we will hear from Dr. Bangararajan, the government perspective, because he's so closely associated with CDS CEO, with DCGI's office, and he's a stalwart in the industry, and we're very fortunate to have him on board. So let me first now call upon Amit to express his thoughts on the pharmaceutical industry in general, whatever he feels appropriate, and then we'll go over to Dr. Bangararajan.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm really grateful, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this web seminar. Good afternoon, Bangaraju sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Dinesh sir is a very, like an elderly brother to me, a mentor to me. I really am very fond of sir, because I keep going to him to take on advices, and his advices, has a really big meaning in this pharmaceutical industry, sir. So you rightly said, whatever the problems we are facing in the industry is unheard of, unprecedented, being part of this pharmaceutical industry, because we started this pharmaceutical unit about a couple of years ago, and what I feel, and that in these days, it's really bad, because any in pharmaceutical industry, the manufacturing units are the backbone of pharmaceutical industries. They should be supported fully by the government to run the operations, because unfortunately, because I represent the state of Himachal Pradesh, my pharmaceutical unit is in Himachal Pradesh. The problems which we are facing, the challenges which we are facing, to run the pharmaceutical unit is that the government should allow us the interstate movement of manpower, because majority of manpower is is situated in states like Haryana and Punjab. Of course, the onus has to be on the manufacturing unit to have proper social distancing amongst people, to take care the number of people who are coming. The capacities of in the buses should be reduced, but then they should be allowed to run the pharmaceutical industry, because if they don't allow them to run fully at minimum optimum levels, say about 70 to 80%, there'll be going to be a huge shortage of medicines, because Himachal Pradesh has a zone amongst the 4 pharma zones in the country, consisting of Uttarakhand, Jammu Kashmir, then we have in the northeast there Assam. It's really takes a lot of medicines are manufactured here, contract manufactured here. So if that is not allowed by the government, there'll be huge and disaster. And this is a pandemic, right, sir rightly said, that unprecedented, pandemic. So a lot of challenges going to happen in the industry in terms of, how it's going to happen, what is going to problems is going to say, and we should realize that it's being dealt worldwide, and the novel coronavirus, of course, has indeed pushed us to a new, part of a new world. We're staying probably apart, but still connected to technology would be the new norm. But at the same time, coming back to the challenges which we as pharmaceutical industry are facing, is that the government should be considerate enough, to allow pharmaceutical units in Himachal Pradesh, because with due respect to, I'm saying I'm part of Himachal Pradesh, the problems which I see to this industry is that they should allow the units to function so that they're able to produce the drugs, so that there's no shortage of medicines. I'm giving them, yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. If you wish to continue, please go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
No, sir, that's it, sir. As of now, the thoughts which are coming to my mind is right now, and maybe I would request you if some thoughts come during the web seminar, please allow me to speak, sir.
Sure, definitely. Thank you very much, Amit, for this youthful, good thoughts, and particularly Himachal Pradesh, because we do have 2 units in Himachal Pradesh. And in the last close to about 30 days, we operated only for 5 days, and that too with the local population. The amazing part of it is that it all started off by this statute stating that you can't even get people from other districts of Himachal outside of Solan also to work, even if they are from Himachal Pradesh. So that was stunning. And we had to reach out to them, request them, show them as to how Punjab government has been a huge facilitator in our factory in the API, where we've operated at starting with about 20% to about 60% as we closed the month last night. So that being the case, there is a different interpretation of different notifications issued by all the ministries at the ground level, at the local level, state level, the district level, and even in certain cases, even at the Mufassal level, which is talukas and towns and rural areas and so on and so forth. And therefore, I mean, you will be amazed to know that MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, had issued a circular way back stating that healthcare industry, particularly pharmaceutical industry, and I've been under intense pressure because I have 3 ministries to relate to, and Dr. Bangara knows that very well. We have Ministry of Commerce, we have Ministry of Health, we have Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, right? So we relate to all 3 industries. We've been under huge pressure to ensure the capacity from the current level of about 30 to 40% must go up to 70 to 80%. Now, with this backdrop, which Amit has so eloquently stated, that we have the biggest challenges in a state which caters to almost around 40% of domestic and 20% of exports. It's a huge cluster, the first cluster in pharma. Then how are we going to turn things around? There have been statements by the government, which I've contested big time, stating that currently we are at 40%, and within the space of next 2 weeks or a fortnight, we'll take it to 70, 80%. Now, where are the facilitations for making sure that we ramp up the capacity utilization? Because majority of our skilled force comes in from adjoining states of Haryana and Punjab. So that being the case, that being the backdrop, I think it's now time for us to move over to the government side of it. And who else could be better than Dr. K. Bangaru Rajan, the Honorable Joint Drugs Controller of India, whom I've known very well over the years, most illustrious spokesman of DCGI's office as well as CDS CEO, and of course the Ministry of Health. So, Sir, Dr. Bangaru Rajan, please benefit us with your wisdom, with your thought process on any one of the subjects. For example, how the industry is going to face this pandemic, because we are the top-notch industry who has to give a solution, maybe in the topinavirs or lopinavirs of the world, and various other options, hydroxychloroquine, which is proved to be dampener, and paracetamols of the world, and the vaccine part of it. So over to Dr. Rajan for his thought-provoking dispensation. Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I just start with a brief, because when the world came to know about the COVID, and then it has started spreading in China, immediately the government of India took note of it, and from February onwards, all the ministries are trying
Dr. Bungala is also joined.
do it. It's based on the feedbacks and other things. For Honorable Prime Minister has formed groups of ministers, and then they formed a group of empowered group of secretaries. There is one for health, and then one for logistics, like that. Around so many groups of secretaries were formed. So the secretaries group, that is for example, for the health. So they were thinking about how much it will escalate, and then what all are the capacities of our hospitals, what is our bed strength, and what all are the requirements, like that. And then the other groups were also discussing with these things. And then the other thing is that there is a
may I request others to mute, please, because
so it was a very huge thing actually. Now Mr. Amit Bansal has stated that the unavailability of required man, it is human resources in the production area and other things. So it was brought to the notice of the empowered group of secretaries. Immediately it has brought to the notice of the home secretaries, and then home secretary has issued the necessary instructions. But the problem faced by the industries are that pharmaceutical industries has become an essential one, and then it should work. But the thing is that at the lower level, that is the district level or at the municipal level, the forces were not brought to the notice. That is, this is an essential services and other things. And recently, then 15 days back, what had happened that so pharmaceutical industries are working, but they are short of the allied industries working also. So this has also been brought into the notice of the empowered group of secretaries as well as to our ministries. So they are in the process of permitting the allied industries like packaging industries and other industries, which is necessary to get the products. That is, once you make the bulk, it has to be packed, and then it has to be reaching to the consumers. So they have taken that one also. Actually speaking, when the exercise started, and then immediately the exercise of how much production is actually going on, that is last month, we can say in March first week, and then after that lockdown, what is the position, like that we were taking a survey. So in that, immediately after lockdown, what had happened that the production capacity of most of the industries has come to a standstill almost. So it has come to, in certain states, it is only 10 to 20%. So after that, only the necessary instructions were issued by the Home Secretary. And then in the first week of April, what had happened, slowly the things have started improving. It has come to the 30% and 40%. And last week, when we have conducted a review, what had happened that in most of the states, especially in Gujarat, it is around 70% of the installed capacity. Almost 70% of the industries are working with the manpower of around 70%. Same way in Himachal also, as per the availability of our state controller, Mr. Marwaji, he has informed that around 60% of the industries are working, and then with a manpower of 60 to 70% of the workers. And then he has brought to the notice of the problem by the Amit Bansal. that is interstate movement and other things. It was noted by the our NPPA chairman also, and then it has brought to the notice of our Department of Pharmaceuticals, because he is one of the group secretaries in the empowered group. And then I think steps will be taken. It will be sorted out very soon. So this is one part about the functioning of the pharmaceutical industries. Next part is that as a regulator, so immediately we thought that, that is DCGI thought that so many things have been taken into consideration, and then all circulars and other things are immediately issued from the India, that is from the DCGI's office. There is first thing is of the masks and sanitizers. Though we are not regulating the masks, the other group of empowered groups of secretaries are looking after the masks, and then the other group was looking after that. But in the field of the sanitizers has come into the notice because it is a drug. So immediately the DCJ has requested all the state drug controllers within 3 days to issue the licenses for the sanitizer manufacturers, and the consumer affairs also has issued, that is all the what we can say distilleries to get licensed to manufacture the sanitizers in bulk, and then those sanitizers were being licensed by the our state drug regulators. Almost 90 plus industries were issued with the licenses by Maharashtra and as well as in Himachal, so that the sanitizers are being available in the market. So that is the other part. In addition to that, timeline and pathways, because for the new drugs and then vaccines, as well as the another one is that testing kits for the COVID, that is a rapid test kit or the PR, that is RT, this one, the reverse time, that PCR test kits, which are to be manufactured in India. So that has also been taken into immediately, and then how fast we can do, we are doing that one. And then as of now, most fast track approval of more than 22 test licenses were given, and then more around 9 of the manufacturing licenses were issued. That is actually in the month end of April, March, I am telling. Till now the thing is also increasing actually. And then vaccines and diagnostics. So whoever is doing giving the application for the COVID related vaccines, we are conducting the SEC meetings online. So SEC were called upon online, and then it has been discussed then and there, and permissions were issued for conducting the clinical trials. Especially the another one thing is that convalescence plasma. So last week, not last week, around 10 days back, ICMR has submitted a CT approval for the convalescence plasma, and through SEC it has been cleared, and the hospitals who are going to take up this one has been requested to contact the ICMR SOPs to be followed like that, and then ICMR under that some of the hospitals have been approved as the centers to do these trials by DCGI. So these all are happening, and then almost in Delhi it was started, and then in Punjab and Karnataka and Trivandrum, these were being taken up. So this is the situation now. And other than that, some of the vaccines trials were given permission after getting necessary documents also, because first we were asking the SECs to review the protocols, and then based on the first review, they were asking some of the additional documents whenever it comes through mail, because now it is very difficult to get the hard copies, or so soft copies were reviewed, and then immediately after that permissions were issued. More than 10 11 permissions of clinical trials for in the vaccines as well as in the new drugs were issued by the DCGI's office. So this is how we are moving forward. And this is one part, that is for the new drug permissions and other things. In addition to that, we have also received representations for extension of some of the validity of licenses or import licenses, certifications and other things. So we have taken up this matter with the ministry also. And then I think today in our website, most probably that extension of WHO GMP certification for 6 months has been issued. That is there. And then those BAB centers which were already licensed and then were applied for the fresh registrations, their applications will be deemed to be valid for 6 months, like that, from the date of. So these are all the things so that industry will not suffer because of this pandemic. So I hope that these are all some of the things. Thank you for giving me a chance to share these informations with other participants, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bangararajan. It's been a pleasure listening to you, as always. And we've now got perspective from CDSO, Ministry of Health as well. You see, we would completely agree and appreciate the proactiveness of your office, particularly Dr. Somani, yourself, Dr. Ishu Reddy, and others in the team, Dr. Marwa as well. We completely agree with you. Unquestionably, the speed with which you've been working, the proactiveness with which you've intervened. Thanks yesterday that you, Dr. Somani, signed off a very pent-up kind of anxiety amongst the exporters, because exports have taken a backseat. I mean, I was very proud to say that we are growing 12% CAGR over the last 5 years. And, you know, I was well on course for Mexel to register another 10% over last year. The level was very high, $19.7 billion last year. And this year, we were away until February to reach the coveted number of $22 billion. But unfortunately, we ended up at $21 billion, bringing down my growth to 7.8%. Okay, it's all over now. But again, because of the lack of flights, as I said earlier, because of the lack of the shipping lines and nothing happening at GNPT except 10-20%, which has been brought to the notice of the Honorable Minister of Shipping, Mansukh Ji, Mandviya Ji. You see, the issue is that in respect of Himachal in particular, where I have 2 units, Amit Ji has a wonderful unit, and many of others, and a lot of our companies, member companies have. They do not agree with the figures which have been given to the government, and that's what I'm going to state that today to the UOP secretary. There's a meeting, as you know, sir, at 5 o'clock today. So that figure needs to be corrected, and we need to make sure that from a current level of not more than 30%, and Amit, you would agree with me, right? From 30%, yes, we need to ramp it up to 70-80% if we want to make sure that there is no dearth of shortage, because this dry zone of Uttarakhand, Himachal, and Sikkim in the northeast caters to about 80% of the total formulation for the domestic industry, and close to about 30-35%. Look at government of Telangana, sir. Look at government of Andhra Pradesh. They've been the biggest facilitator for that matter. I'm sure Dr. Gopal, who's going to come in right now, will explain that to you. We are at about, let's say, Telangana and Andhra are at about 60-70%. I spoke to a couple of guys today, and Punjab is at about 40-odd% of thereabouts. Himachal is not, sir. Something needs to be done about it, and we're bringing it to your kind notice. And in the meetings, you can definitely give the sound bites to all concerned, particularly the this bureaucrats and task force which has been created. So thank you very much once again for your very, very wise counsels. I want to now bring in our Petanoyer iconic industry leader, Dr. Gopal Munjal, whom all of you know, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of InSwift Group, a prominent Rotarian and a wonderful educationist on board now to benefit us with a sage advice in respect of technology, in respect of devastation caused by COVID. What is it that we need to innovate ourselves? Because this lockdown, most of us in the senior, top, and middle management work from home culture, technology being a big facilitator. This webinar itself reflects as to how changes are going to be affected in terms of business generation, in place of face-to-face meetings through technology, and what are the ways and means of making sure that, God forbid ever, this kind of a pandemic or lesser pandemic takes place. What is it that we need to do to ensure minimum possible damage to the industry in particular? Because if industry gets hit, employment gets hit, GDP goes for a toss. So that being said, I'd now request and call upon Dr. Gopal Munjal to benefit us with his wonderful thoughts. Dr. Gopal Munjal, please.
Thank
Rohit,
you,
do we have?
Duaji, and my good afternoon to all the panelists.
Good
Hello,
afternoon. Yes, we can
am
hear
I
you, sir.
am I am I loud?
Yes,
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 sir.
we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you may not be seeing my picture. Okay.
No
So my
problem.
good afternoon to all the panelists over here, and well, I'm sorry the what Mr. Dua you was just saying the technology and all that. There are side effects of the technology also which I am facing today, because I am not able to see myself in this technology. But everything, even the medicines have got the side effects and the positive effects as well. As regard, since I have to start, as regard this COVID-19 position in India or the globe, what you can say, it's drastic in this century. We all know very well, but we at the same time know very well this is not the first time. Rather, this is the time now technological advancement, we are facing it. And I must say, Dr. Bangala Rajun, Indian government, they are on the forefront as well as even the world, the other countries are. Even India is forwarding maybe very less health infrastructure we are having as compared to the globe. But am I being heard properly?
Yeah, it's okay. Carry on, doctor.
Okay. But see, if you remember, I mean, we are not of that old. There, pandemics was earlier when you say 450 BC, probably on that time, two-thirds of the total population was gone. And as recent as in 1918, probably there were more than 5 crore deaths. But as on today, when we are talking about coronavirus, although we are working very hard, as Dr. Mangala Rajun has said, that on vaccines and all those things, and I think that India is going to the forefront in developing those vaccines by August and September. That is the information what we are having as of now. This is all said and done. There are a lot many side effects, lot many problems which every industry is facing. Rather, 15 of the industries probably they'll be on the bankruptcy, even if continued for about more than 1 month time. Which includes hospitality, hospitals, hotels,
Airlines.
travelers, all those industries. Yeah, well, there are a lot many industries which have suffered a setback. As regard healthcare industry, which is the need of the hour as in today. Well, everything said and done, that isolation is needed. But at the same time, sir, we have to see, specifically now I'm referring Dr. Mangala Rajan, we have to see the risk versus benefit factors. Rather, Mr. Amit has also said, Mr. Dua has also said, there are a lot many challenges that even healthcare industry is facing. That is the productions, the manpower. No production. Rightly, you said, Mr. Dua, say about 20% of the total production is taking place in this part of India, where more than 70 to 80% of the total pharmaceutical produce are there. And comparing this south, they are facilitating, although the number of cases in the south are much more as compared to the North India. We could have devised, we could have developed these strategies of isolation and all that, but at the same time, the government advisories come that if you are starting your industry, you start with your industry, keep all your employee inside, and if there is any positive cases of COVID which are coming out, the FIR is going to be registered against the owner. Now, with these type of threatening advisories, who is going to start the production? This is one, because we all are fighting from the forefront. We all are fighting from the forefront. So these type of threatening should not be there. But at the same time, the facilitation by the government should be there. That healthcare industry should be facilitated. This is one part. This is one part of production. Another part is your monetary, commercial aspects. There are lot many kala bazari which is happening now in the market, sir. You talk about pricing of the raw material, there is no control, no control of the government. Every pricing, skyrocketing pricing are there. Now everybody is talking about advance payments, and the further payments are not coming from the market. All these are the practical challenges and practical problem which every industrialist is facing as on today. Well, on that, I understand the government will not be able to do anything in that case because it's all in private sector. But the government advisory, like DPCO on the finished products we are having, the same way the raw material, the API pricing should be accordingly. Now, I'll give you one example. You ask your all drug controllers everywhere that issue the licenses of sanitizers. Very well, sir. Within 3 days, 4 days, every company they got the licenses of sanitizers. But what happens to the basic bulk? The drug, the IPA, which was available 82 rupees an price, it has now available at 220 rupees to 300 rupees. Where
Absolutely.
the billing is done, where the billing is done at 82 only, and rest all is from underhand money. I'm sorry to say I'm speaking these on webinar, but this is a hard reality, sir. Now, out of the sanitizer which are available in the market, sir, for sure, if we start checking those sanitizer in the market, more than 60% you'll find underfilling of IPA. Now, whether these things are going to control or contain COVID, if I'm going to buy sanitizer in the market from making from any of the company, ABC company, and tomorrow I couldn't get that 99.9% bactericidal action of that, what's going to happen to me? Because psychologically, I know that I have washed my hand, I have sanitized myself, so I'm not going to be even in touch with the nearby of the positive patients. I'm not going to have it. But if you find the 30% of IPA that containing, whether this is going to kill the bacteria, these are the other problems, the other challenges which are there. So we have to see all these. Now, these are the things the government should have come heavily on all those things as well as the threaten is these concerns. These are the challenges. Now, I was talking about commercials. Commercials today, bank is referring all the EMIs or all the term loan interest for the next 3 months and 4 months, but they are not. As far as the interest part is concerned, they are not foregoing those interest parts. You are to give that interest maybe a deferment of 3 months. Then what is going to happen after 3 months? Suppose we are in a normal market scenario, but after 3 months, you'll be giving a double the interest. Do the MSME or SMA is going to survive in that case? Now, these are the big question marks. Whether they are going to give those interests, what I'm foreseeing in the coming times, lot of NPAs, lot of commercial NPAs, lot of closures. If it continued for about another 1.5 months, there's a lockdown period. MSME sector, more than 70% MSME sector. I'm not talking about only pharma, but all other sectors, they'll close their shops. Now that will be a biggest challenge we are going to have after COVID. I'm speaking in Hindi for the time being. लोग COVID से तो इतना नहीं मरेंगे जितना भुखमरी से भी मर जाएंगे afterwards.
बिल्कुल.
Now this is a hard reality, sir, because below the poverty line people, they can beg, but the person who are just a lower middle class, they cannot beg also, they cannot ask also. What's going to happen to them? उनको तो उनकी शर्म ही मार जाएगी. And this is actual realities in the market, sir. When we are doing reality check, I'll not go for the paper news, what is happening. You also know the ground realities are altogether different. what exactly is being shown. Now, this is a present scenario. Even in health industry, we have talked quite a lot. Mr. Dua also, Mr. Amit Bansal also, and Dr. Bangala Rajan, you're also, that on developing side, what we are doing, on vaccine side, on new things. But these challenges are also a part of the challenge of us. Now, what exactly do you think that with these challenges, I'll again ask Ms. Mangala Rajan, you also, with these challenges, how we are going to cope up in the present circumstances and in future? I'm talking about when the lockdown period is over, next 6 months, how we are going to cope down with all these situations. This is my question to the panel also, that we should see, because today we are fighting from the forefront, fine enough, but what is going to happen? Because I don't want to give Duaji figures what is happening in pharmaceutical industry, how it is growing according to the world and all, everybody knows it. Now the practical things, what exactly, how we are going to fight it today, and what are the challenges ahead, how we are going to see those challenges and come up as a winner. Thank you so much.
Sure, sure. Excellent, Dr. Gopal Munjal. You've raised an issue which is very close to the heart of everybody. Every industry is big or small or tiny, it doesn't really matter, right? The fact of life is also that if a stimulus is not given, and that's a widely prevalent thought process amongst all association, irrespective of their affiliations and their disposition towards the government, may it be SOCAM, CII, FICCI, PhD Chamber of Commerce, and very many other industrial associations, stating that if stimulus is not given in a considered manner immediately, then what you predicted is going to be true. MSME, ladies and gentlemen, co-panelists, in the pharmaceutical sector, you'll be very surprised to know, for the domestic robust market of $22 billion is 70%. It's the backbone.
Yes.
Who else than Amit will endorse this? That look, 90% of the brands which you buy in the market from top-notch MNCs and big pharma are basically manufactured by the MSME sector under their quality,
Yes.
under their CGMP practices, right? So if that's gonna be in trouble, if they're going to be NPAs, if they're going to shut shop, as Dr. Gopal has very eloquently stated, then where would the big pharma go? Where would the MNCs go? They don't have the capacity. They've leveraged a huge and staggering amount of capacity, which is lying in the pharma zones like Badi, like Uttarakhand, like Sikkim, and many more others, right? So that's a gaping question which has currently no answer. Secondly, as rightly pointed out, that look, the biggest employment generator is MSME. They contribute 40% of your GDP. These are not the Ambanis and Adanis and those whole host of other big industrial Birlas and Tatas who provide that kind of employment and contribution to the GDP of the country as MSME does. So if they are the GDP generators and the wheels of growth in a country like ourselves, right? What's going to happen if nothing is done immediately? I mean, I've been reading so many articles, I've been listening to so many economists and industrialists and very well read global personalities. What we need, what this country needs, is a minimum stimulus of 10 lakh crores. And that 10 lakh crores, ladies and gentlemen, is currently available, right? You have 7 lakhs with RBI. You've taken away 5 lakhs from RBI to spend on infrastructure as well as on welfare schemes, which have been rolled out by the Honorable Prime Minister in particular. So there is at least 3 to 4 lakh crores still sitting out there. Pull that back. Don't give this as an alm or as a kind of a subsidy. No, we don't want it, sir. We want it as an investment by the government into the industry, and you'll get the returns. Your GST is going to drop in the month of April, as I understand, by as high 40 to 50%. So it's gone, right? Similarly, income tax is going to fall dramatically. So you are trying to control the fiscal deficit and inflation, but in the process, the ground is slipping away, as Dr. Gopal put it across very, very succinctly. So that being said, government has to set about making sure that the economy is given the right impetus through a stimulus. Don't give 10 lakh crores, give 1 lakh crores, kickstart, maintain, sustain it, and take it forwards, and automatically things will fall in place. So you have a two-edged kind of a strategy, wherein on one side you're fighting COVID, which obviously will happen. And I'm very confident 74 days cutoff, as in Wuhan and Hubei, as well as in South Korea, is proven. And that's by the third week of May, all across the country, hopefully, right? And on the other side, you make sure that you give economy the requisite push to a stimulus to make sure that both run concurrently. Otherwise, what Dr. Gopal has predicted is going to be true, and I can't even start thinking remotely about that horrific scenario. So that being said, thank you very much. And now there are a lot of beautiful questions which are coming on my WhatsApp. I'll take that over once we are finished with the panelists, and I now call upon a veteran, Kuldeep Vakaluji, from a beautiful company called Lupin Pharmaceuticals. Lupin has been a trailblazer in my 40 years of experience. I've known Dr. D.B. Gupta personally, and of course his son and his daughters were doing amazing work from where he left off to where we've been taken. So we would now request Kuldeep ji to take charge and walk us through his perspective on the whole situation, broadly on the healthcare industry. Pharmaceutical, of course, remains to be the central focus because majority of us come from the pharmaceutical
Yeah, we belong to pharma mostly.
sector.
Even
So
by
please,
qualification also, I am a pure pharma person.
go
Uh,
ahead.
yeah, well, see, basically, we have been talking, I think my senior, all colleagues, they talked about the present situation. What is present situation? Well, it is, everybody knows it, there is nothing to add and all that. And I should say compliments first to our CTSO options. Because I have been interacting with them and all that. Dr. Bangaru Rajan is there, Dr. Somani and all that. We talk about the corona warriors. Let me tell them they are our industry warriors also, and they have been tremendously helping us. And we have been talking to them and all that, and they have done, to ease the situation for the industry. Unfortunately, this pharma industry, we belong to all. Uh, it is highly regulated. That is okay. It has been there for so whether it is erratic or sometimes I'm not going to talk that thing also right now. But if you see even in press media and other or any other media, we always see negative things being talked about this industry and all that. But today I feel proud that this industry, we world is looking for at a pharma industry for our hydrochloroquine or any other drugs and all that. Anyway, one more thing, which I think is a very dangerous, and we have been talking for many years to the government also, is our API industry. API, even today, more than 70% we are importing from one country, that is China. And we have been we talk to, still we are dependent on them, and it is a great. Now what we see in future, I think that this time dark cloud, it has a silver lining. Government should also understand that we can't depend now on China or any other country for our API source. It is really sorry, even 10G, it is a so important product for manufacture of many antibiotics. We used to have, lot of companies. It is a fermentation term we used to have in India. There is not a single company in India which is manufacturing 10G. We are importing 100% from China. So that is a very this thing, and government should right now. So basically, see an other side of the coin also. We talk one side of the coin. Indian pharma industry is the world's third largest, and we should now look forward. See, basically, maybe 120 million people, 300 billion people. We should all look for 5 billion, because our market is now 200 countries, and it is going. I can see right now we have a bright future. Don't feel dejected and all that. This time will pass. 6-7 months and all that, I am very sure that pharma industry is going to do wonders in coming years. Our exports will go very drastically high. That I am very sure. Only thing is that we need and support from the government itself right now. API, I would say again, API industry is a very important industry. I think Mr. Munjal knows very well and all that. China, how China has damaged our API industry, that corrective measures we have to take right now. Government, I think they have coming up with some policy and all that, but I don't think that is an adequate to again start that API. API is important. Rest, I see a very bright future for our industry. There is nothing to feel dejected and all that. Only thing is that right now we need and support. We need support in the form of all, because our this thing. Otherwise, I am and I see a brighter side, a bright sun shining for the industry overall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kuldeep ji, for a great sense of optimism, which is greatly appreciated. Of course.
Yeah, I think we are so depressed sitting at home and all that. I think this should be something, motivational for us to go.
Yes,
No, we're not depressed, Kuldeep. Kuldeep, we're not depressed. We are just making our voices heard because our concern is from the MSME. I'm not concerned. We are carrying on.
Sir, we are even I am telling you, my company, we are dependent a lot on MSCs because
correct.
we get our, we have got around 30 sites small where we get manufactured our products and
Precisely.
I am seeing that is what I was telling in the see, this is one industry which has been I don't know somehow whether I should use this, that there was a movie one, what was that that one Oscar also, Children of Lesser God. So this industry is the children of lesser God.
I like this. I like this, Kuldeep. Very nice. What a simile. Okay. So we've had this first round of deliberations, but let me also take this opportunity to talk about the API industry because I've been deeply involved, both from Nectar.
Yeah, it's very important, sir. API
you'll be surprised to know that between InSwift and ourselves in Punjab, right next to each other, we are some of the largest producers in the world, not India, in the world.
Yeah, I know.
For InSwift, so we supply to 75 countries, right? In spite of the onslaught of the Chinese, we've still been able to export. Now, let me just give a bit of a backdrop on API because Kuldeep very nicely hinted at the fact this is a clarion call for the industry and everybody is concerned. About 10 years ago, I had personally, along with Mr. Sikri, taken a Amit, can you hear me? Unmuted. Amit, can you hear me now? Now you muted. I think you can hear me.
Some technical glitch which is sorted out. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. So on the API side, let me explain to you that we currently export, ladies and gentlemen, hold your breath. We currently export close to about $4 billion out of $22 billion worth of exports, about $14 billion worth of formulations and $4 billion worth of APIs. Now, it is absolutely very well understood. It is demonstrated. It's factually and statistically correct that almost around 90% of the APIs for domestic are coming in either in the form of API, predominantly in the form of API from China, and then intermediates for the exported API. So that's the broad game plan of China. Just go back 20 years or 25 years. China was nowhere. We were the first in the world in fermentation to have started off penicillin G, particularly in Gujarat.
Yep.
Right? Alembic started it. Right?
Alembic.
And then you had DGPL, you had IDPL, and you had JK. They all started fermentation in a big way. and they succeeded until the Chinese juggernaut took over and the government gave virtually absolutely 100% free on the ground level playing field with the rest of the world to put up huge fermentation facilities because they had huge amount of corn available, right? Electricity at that point in time was given free, and we were paying, even in those days, something like 4 to 5 rupees or 6 rupees thereabouts. So then all the roads of fermentation industry, which is very rock solid, big industry, right, moved over to China. Indian 6 to 7 manufacturers closed down. Lupin also was involved in fermentation and is also currently involved in fermentation also.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have rifampicin.
Rifampicin, yeah, correct. So then even originators, GSK, with whom we work very, very closely, right? DSM, which is the biggest in the world for penicillin G, all of them closed up because they could not compete with China. China was producing through huge amount of subsidies by the government, and they completely overtook fermentation in vitamins, in case of key starting raw materials, as I said, penicillin, 6-APA, 7-ACA, so on and so forth. So there's nothing else.
7-ADCA as well.
7-ADCA as well. 7-ADCA in India still is manufactured to an extent. But
yeah.
All roads lead to China, China, and China. West has closed down. East Asia, Japan has closed down. India has closed down. It's only China. So that's one vulnerability, right? Two is that there is a beautiful report, and I'll circulate to those who are interested, conducted by CII and KPMG recently. Beautiful 100-page document along with from Excel, which I've been monitoring for a very long time, which clearly proves that it has the capability. India has the wherewithal. There's technology sitting out in most illustrious academia, the IITs, IICTs, and so many other institutes. Even in Chandigarh, IMTech has fantastic technologies. NIPER has super technologies. And similarly, many more others. Indian Institute of Molecular Biology has wonderful technology. So if you put and amalgamate all of that, there's a roadmap to make sure that immediately, and I expressed that to Piyush Goyalji, to whom I report as chairman from Excel, stating that here is an opportunity when you've seen and experienced the vulnerability of our country in the domestic market in particular, excuse me, to the extent of 90% on API. So, and there is a huge anti-China movement and sentiment across the West, all European countries, as well as America. America's been saying what they've been saying, as you know, under Trump. The revenue minister of Germany has, funnily enough, sent for messing up the economy, spreading this virus, and so on and so forth. And similarly, everybody, Canadian Premier also, Trudeau, has expressed his deep apprehension. Australia started saying that there should be an investigation on this Wuhan Institute of Virology, WIV. So that being said, now is the opportunity to call upon all those units which were making those beautiful APIs, still make those APIs for the regulated markets, because China cannot withstand the regulatory pathway, the inspections, the audits. No way. They are only about 10% in regulated markets, and 90% is controlled by us in the API space in the regulated market. So why not call upon such entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, MSME, large, medium-sized, and so on and so forth, give them this incentive that, look, guys, you have the technology, good or bad, doesn't matter, you can improve upon it as you go along. Please revive your units. We give you this much of capex, let's say 10 crores, 5 crores, 20 crores, right? There is a moratorium of close to about 3 years. And after 3 years, in 5 years, EMIs should be paid, right? Interest-free EMIs. That's one. Two is that the government and cabinet has already decided that pharma parks as a long-term measure will be set up in 3 states, and the private industry is also invited to set up shop and make sure that you get, there are 58, and out of that 53 critical ones, fermentation molecules and APIs, of which India is totally dependent on China, nobody else but China, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think Department of Pharma have made a list of 58 products.
58 was where the restrictions were imposed. 53 is the one totally dependent. So for those 53, they are proposing that on the incremental sale, supposing it's 0 sale today, 6 months from down the line, you do 100 sales, you will get 20% incentive on that. That's a big incentive. That's point one. Two is the capital subsidy of 20-25%. It's not been specified by, I reckon that's the number, will be given, and that'll be given in 8 years. So you'll have 3%, 3%, 3% every year on the capex subsidy also. So I think that's a great incentive, and I'm very, very pleased to inform you that Mr. Piyush Goyal liked the idea. He instructed his people to put me in touch with the Minister of State for Fertilizers and Chemicals, Mr. Mandavia, to make sure that this proposal is put up before the cabinet and taken forwards to get the feedback from the industry. So India today is alive. India today is hooked on to make sure that APIs are revived in this country. And believe you me, if we can export $3.5 to $4 billion worth to regulated markets with the kind of stimulus or investment that the government does into the industry, you will, in a staggered manner, 20%, 20%, 30%, 40%, take over the domestic. And then along with that, the beauty will be that the government has agreed that they will put 40 to 100% customs duty or anti-dumping duty or whatever you call it. There are various ways and means and mechanisms on the imported APIs, as is done in the case of Indonesia for formulations, as is done by a lot of MENA region countries to promote their own pharmaceutical industry in the formulations. A similar mechanism, once you have got the critical mass, you block China by imposing duties, right? And make sure that we are cost competitive. And we go ahead and capture, if we can capture the regulated markets, why can't we capture the domestic market? So these are some thoughts which the government is finally tuned to. We've been trying, all of us in the industry, including Dr. Gopal Manjal, we've been trying to make sure that the government understands it didn't happen for a long 10 years. But now, COVID is a game changer, in my considered opinion. The government is listening. They're very receptive. They're prepared to
That is
come
what I was telling you. There is an opportunity for the industry now. There is a
absolutely.
silver line. Yeah.
So great. Thank you very much. Yeah, sure, Doctor.
I add on to Mr. Dua. See, it is the API industry is not only the thing. Like you rightly said, 10 years back, when we were having fermented product.
Yeah.
It was few of the fermented products. Although, I mean, we were very sadistic as far as the backward integrations are concerned.
Precisely.
Because of the lack of benefit from the government and because of huge cost infrastructure on that. Rightly,
Sure.
you said, Mr. Kuldeep also, you said rightly that we are sitting on a golden mountain now. If we take the opportunity, COVID as an opportunity. See, we are fighting COVID. Fine enough. We are fighting COVID. Everybody is fighting. And the thing will go away maybe another month's time or something like this. It will go away. It faded away. It will not go. It will be faded away. But that opportunity and that opportunity encashment is in the shape of intermediates, all chemical industry, for which 80% of all India or the globe is dependent on China as in today. Why not? We can have. We are having lot of space. This Jaisalmer is lying. That area is a complete where we can, if Dubai can be made on desert, we can make our Rajasthan and the lot many from the south side, from the east side. There are lot many areas which can be explored and developed on the chemical industries,
Absolutely.
intermediate industries, so that our dependency should not be on the China and everything should be indigenous. That is there, and it will take say about 5 months, 5 years down the line if we able to develop ourselves and indigenously we are dependent only on India. Will be the world leader, sir. Today, you note down my word. World leader in pharma industry. Now we are deviating from that topic. We are coming to the pharma industry, but we are talking about healthcare as well.
Sure.
Now there's a lot of all healthcare products, all medical devices. What is, we always say it's a gray area in India. There's no regulations. There's no stringent regulation in India for medical devices and all that. Although 70% wherever across the globe, the person who are in research and developing these medical devices, those are Indian origin. They are doing it because they are getting that infrastructure in those countries. This is one thing. They are getting the government backup from those countries. Like you said, the government is giving in China. They think today they are making one product. They think of 167 countries. We make one product, we think of India and maybe few of the other countries. Now we have to broaden our thought processes. This is one thing. It should be a hand in hand with the government, giving all impetus or the financial impetus to the industry. I always say, like Abraham Lincoln has said, what America has done for you. Don't think what you have done for America, what America has done for you. Fine enough. This is both for each other, the same as my word to the government is you take care of the industry and industry will take care of everything. It's
Yes.
not pharmaceutical industry will take, because today every country GDP whatsoever it is, it's the industrial growth. It is not the administrative growth, sir, with the
Sure.
countries recognized in the world. It is the industrial growth. And the person, the private entrepreneur, they spent 18 hours, 20 years in their industry. What for? Not only earning their bread and butter, but at the same time, giving the name to the Indian country. Today, we are saying they were third largest. How we became, within the 70 years of independence, we became the third largest pharmaceutical industry. But had it been completely supported by the government, we could have been number one 10, 15
Absolutely.
years back.
Absolutely, yes.
So these are the impetus, these are the challenges. Now, post this period, we should work on vaccines. This is the area we are talking about monoclonal antibodies and all those things, stem cell technologies. There are a lot many new technologies which is coming, but vaccine is one technology where we are still poor as compared to the other countries. We should work on intermediates. We should work on all APIs. We should work on chemicals. We should work on vaccines. Now these are the industries which have got 100% future for the next 100 years,
I
and
mean,
any new
important.
technology which is coming up. Yeah.
Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gopalji, for some very thoughtful observations. Really very well placed. No doubt about that. We could have been easily number one in the world had it been a government co-participation like the Chinese government. I'm very fond of saying that if there is one country which is the biggest facilitator of the industry, of course with a gun, as you know, they're not democracy, they're
Mm.
autocracy. That is Chinese government, right? And that's
Yeah.
how they've
Yep.
scaled their industries to a level which is unparalleled. Even the West cannot match the might of the kind of help and stimulus that the Chinese industry is given. They give it to you for, see, their economic model is very different. The economic model is create so much of supply that demand will take another 10 years to fill it up. In our country and in
Yes.
other several developing economies, it's the other way around. That let the demand split on its seams, only then we'll create supply. So there is a big difference.
Yes.
The economic strategic intent of the two governments.
So
So
probably, if you allow me to add one more thing, I would like to add one more thing. As a formulator, the major problem which we are facing is in terms of the API pricing, sir. And the drug price control order also of the government, is hampering our, production, because in certain cases, the prices of drug price control order are so less that we'll not be able to manufacture the drugs, and there's no point manufacturing the drugs, because the government has been kind enough to give us licenses for HCQ, but the cost of the tablet is 9 rupees a tablet of 200 mg, and the drug price control order says 6 rupees a tablet. Same goes for paracetamol also. Same goes for paracetamol also. It has increased by 100% the price of API. So that, if the government authorities, with due respect to sir and Gopal Majal sir and Dr. K. Bangarajun sir and Kuldeep sir, if the NPPA, does something for at least for 6 months from now, okay, will not enforce the drug price control order, so that, there's no shortage of medicines. Of course, the manufacturers will also take care that there's no hoarding of prices in terms of the MRPs or the manufacturing companies and the marketing companies. But then some support is required from the government to support them, so that the manufacturers are able to produce the drugs, because if they are told that, okay, the drug price control order will not be, implemented for next 6 months, you produce the drugs, so there's no shortage of drugs in the market. That's a much bigger worry, sir.
All right. Thank you, Amit, for a very useful observation, which Dr. Gopal Manjal also hinted upon, the fact that there's been such a huge increase in API prices. Oh, it started off like that, it tapered off. Again, it's taken off in the last about 3-4 days. The prices have really significantly gone up, and we are again under DPCO. I would now like to call upon, before we take on the questions, from the audience, Dr. Bangaru Rajan,
Yes,
to
sir.
please throw some light on various issues which have been raised, particularly NPPA, DPCO. It's been a very contentious issue over the
Yes.
last decades thereabouts, as also certain other observations, particularly raised by Dr. Gopal Manjari. Dr. Bangaru Rajan, please.
Yes, sir. The first thing is that pricing of the raw materials, sudden increases in certain raw material prices. Actually, recently we have also come to notice about this one, and it was raised before the NPPA also. NPPA is also aware of this fact. I think they'll be thinking that is they are analyzing it. That is what to do further, whether to take or because as of now, DPCO doesn't cover the APIs. Previous DPCO is covering the APIs also.
Correct.
Now APIs are not under the price control. So they are thinking then what to do, whether to bring the APIs in the price control or otherwise some policy for because of this COVID changes. No, because it's brought into the notice of NPPA, and then NPPA with the ministry, I think they are working on it. I think we don't know actually what is going to come out. That is the first thing. Second, regarding the some clarifications have been issued. That is, if anybody found with COVID in manufacturing or in any industrial, this one, the manager or the management will be responsible for that, like that. For that, I think last week clarification has been issued.
Yes.
I think everybody will be aware of that, and there is no
No,
panic
no.
in that. So, and
No,
about the quality of the sanitizers, yes, our state drug controllers are doing some of the raids also, wherein that unlicensed sanitizers manufacturing are being raided, and seizure of those sanitizers are taking place. But however, no, that availability of uh, quality or substandard sanitizers, we have to take samples and then we have to take it before the court. That is also, I think, some of the state drug controllers have started picking up the sanitizers for sampling purposes also. So that will give a signal to the persons who are manufacturing quality, that is substandard quality sanitizers, to be careful that they will be marketing only a standard quality products only. So regarding that MSMEs, I think yesterday also, I think from the news only I am also hearing that our honorable PM has convened the cabinet or the ministers, and then is discussing about the how to move forward, or stimulus packages for the industries and everything. We hope that in coming week there may be some announcements. I think
Yes, most likely.
last week Reserve Bank of India has come out with some announcements. So like that, Government of India we may hope that some stimulus packages will be given by our honorable Prime Minister for the industries, especially the MSMEs. And your suggestion of having incentives to the MSMEs, those who are going to manufacture or making the APIs and the KSMs. So now the government is in the receptive mode now at this situation. I hope that it will materialize, and our industry, because always know that governments will think that, okay, it is coming, and now they have realized the present situation, and we should not be dependent on others, so we should have our own capacity. And they now realize the importance of the pharma industry, because if you see US is asking you give the HCQs, and then Brazil is demanding. So like that, no, that is so government is it's they are understanding the importance of the pharma, though it was realized some 2-3 years back itself. But now the demand and this present COVID situation, our government will take the points and then necessary measures. I hope, because I'm also like you only. So I hope that good package will come for the pharma industries, because our
Sir,
secretary
sorry for
was,
interruption. So you are
yes, sir.
not like us, sir. You can aggressively take it forward. Aggressively take it forward because this is the need of the hour today.
Yes, sir. We are whenever we
Yeah.
are telling you that the shortages and other things, we are telling say NPPR over as no, that we are telling that it's our industries. We have to depend
No,
only on the.
unquestionably,
Yes,
Dr.
I think
Samani and his team are great champions of the
Dua is
industry.
also attending the meetings, as a capacity from
That's
industrial association. He knows the thing that we present our thing, but however, no, that present situation is in such a way that uh, our government will sure and certain will give some stimulus packages, especially for the pharma industry, especially for the API and KSMs. I hope
sure.
some before this lockdown also, no, that our pharma secretary has tell that some of the things have been because pollutions problems and other things were highlighted, and yes, stated that those problems were solved, and then certain areas were earmarked for the pharma industries or pharma parks, like that, if I'm correct, clusters, other things. So with this thing, pricing, yes. So at the highest level, it has to be taken into thing. I hope that something will come out, either bringing APIs also in price control, or otherwise their formulations. So these
All right.
things will happen in within short time. I
Thank you,
hope.
Dr. Rajan. We are very hopeful, and
Yes.
you hit the nail on the head that a stimulus package is in the making for pharma industry. I'm also aware of that. It's a question of timing it. That's very important. Right?
Yes, sir.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, the field is open for question and answers, and I've got quite a few of them. We have 10 minutes left before the closure. Maybe we can extend it by 5 minutes. Rohit and Amandeep, you have to take a call. The first question to the panelists, and anybody can pick it up, is: can healthcare move away from pharmaceuticals? Can healthcare management companies, especially medical tourism companies, partner with pharmaceutical companies for conducting real-time data analysis as and when possible? Any takers for that?
Yes. Yes, of course. Why not?
Yeah.
The health and pharma industry, because we are research oriented industries, and medical tourism is also one part. Medical tourism, it all depends. The medical tourism depends on the health infrastructure what we are having over here. If you are having good infrastructure, so that can be partnered with the pharmaceutical industry for further research and development activities. And it's a win-win situation for both the industries.
Sure. Absolutely well said. Medical tourism took off exceedingly well. You'll be surprised to know that last year it took a jump of 53%. And
Yes, that's
better.
true.
The base is very low, so 53% sounds big, but actually in real terms, it's not as big. But the industry was hoping, but for this COVID devastation, that they would double the growth this year because so much of attraction. And it's
Yes.
it's an icing on the cake, as Gopalji rightly pointed out, that if pharmaceutical companies with a global reach of 206 countries and with a huge goodwill, I mean, President Trump had to call up Honorable Prime Minister Modi for hydroxychloroquine and so many other initiatives. Even
Yes.
now, US is worried that if there is a slowdown in terms of the exports from India, then US will have huge problems because their generic space of close to about $120 billion is dependent in volume by 40%. So therefore, with our reach in pharmaceutical industry and analytics that are currently happening and growing by the day, definitely the answer is yes. Those Gopalji's views. The second supplementary question is: what is the government initiative for supporting such initiatives is taken up on an individual basis? I think it's simple. That look, anything individually may not materialize. It's just that industry associations of pharmaceutical and industry association of medical Dr. Naresh Trahan is the biggest ambassador for that industry, and a couple of others as well. if we all join forces together, put our heads together, the government has to listen to you. So in our considered opinion, Gopalji, I hope you agree that both of us should join forces, see the kind of synergies which are available to us, create a paper, policy paper, or a thought-provoking kind of an initiative, reach out to Niti Aayog government or to the ministries and take it forward. Next question is, Board of Governors has
Yep.
notified telemedicine
Yes.
guidelines recently. However, the same have not been published in the official gazette. Can we rely on the guidelines as settled concrete norms now, or should we wait till they're published in the gazette? I know this. Anybody else wants to take it up? See, this is like medical devices. Medical devices, you'll be
Yeah.
surprised to know. E-pharmacy also, same. The tentative guidelines have been prepared, vetted by the government, and they've been in principle approved. But unless you see a notification or a gazette, right, it does not become a law. Till such time as it becomes a notification, it is indicative in nature. So you have to be an entrepreneurial risk assessment agent. Make sure you should go that way or you should not. Now, my disposition is very simple. When there is no notification, and
That's
you
why I was saying it's a
whatever is
gray area.
available, yeah. Go ahead, Gopalji.
That's why I was saying earlier that this is a gray area,
Correct.
because
Correct.
there every guideline is prepared, but it's not notified.
Correct. It's been 3 years that medical devices have not seen the light of the day, and then we are saying that we are not even scratching the surface in medical devices. 90% of medical devices are being imported. Unless there's clarity of policy, unless there's a notification,
Yep.
every entrepreneur cannot take that risk, Gopalji, isn't it?
Sir, can I say something?
Please,
Yes.
please.
Sir, these medical devices, now the roadmap has come as a gazette, and then all the medical devices has to be first within 18 months they can register voluntarily, and then within the next 1 year, that is 18 plus 12 months, class A and B devices has to be registered
Yes.
compulsorily, and then after the second year, that is 18 plus 12 plus 12, all the C and D devices to be registered. So this has
Correct.
come very recently. So the other part, but now it will be regulated as of now under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act only as a drug. So there is
Exactly.
it is government has taken some decisions, and then it is being implemented also. So it's
So,
not.
Dr. Bagaru, we look
Yes,
forward to the same insofar as this issue is concerned about telemedicine, because telemedicine is a very exciting field. It's
Yes, telemedicine. Yes, that is guidelines only will do that one.
Correct.
And it is, yes, sir.
No, it'll take some shape because the government is convinced.
Yes.
Cisco has been doing it over the years in Hyderabad with humongous response, and even Niti Aayog is pleased of what magic they've brought about in telemedicine. So I'm sure sooner or later it'll take the shape of a notification. Online distribution of pharmaceuticals has been in.
Mr. Duas.
Yeah. Next question.
Mr. Duas, so we are only having five minutes. I think we should finalize that. What is the takeaway from this webinar? What exactly we should do? What exactly we want the government should do?
The last
These 5
question,
minutes,
Gopalji, and then
I
we do
think.
that.
Yeah.
Sure. Last question. The distribution of pharmaceuticals has been in gray for a long time. Even the draft e-pharmacy rules have been at the draft level for a while. Doesn't the pandemic make a positive case for allowing online distribution of pharmaceuticals? I think this is the medical devices that we
Actually,
discussed.
government. So this one actually, government has come out with a notification that recently, that is under section 26B, that is the drugs can be issued by the pharmacies directly to the patient on availing prescription, because in this pandemic situation it has come out. But the other thing, that is online pharmacy, the draft is yet to be finalized. So that is the other part. But this present, at present, it has been given. That is pharmacies, the licensed pharmacies, that brick and mortar pharmacies are allowed to dispense the drugs directly to the patients.
Correct.
if they come out with the prescription through online and other things. So that is being allowed.
I think e-pharmacy is there to stay. The draft regulation is already there with the government.
Yeah.
It's a question of time before it sees the light of the day. And with this COVID infestation, I'm sure we'll expedite it as much as possible. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and to the audience also for giving us some thoughtful questions. There are a few others which we will reply to, Rohit, on the mail or whatever, whichever you appropriate, you deem appropriate. All right. So let me summarize it. That we've had a very useful discussion. Very much to the panelists. Gopalji, you were saying something? Or shall I go ahead? Okay, so we've touched upon some very
you are going to summarize it. That is the only thing I was also going to do, summarize.
Right. No, you go ahead. Why don't you do it? I've been speaking for a long time. Would you like to do that, Gopalji?
No. The only thing is the takeaway from this web. No, you can go ahead. No problem. You can go ahead.
Right. Well, so, I'll just quickly summarize within the time constraint of 5 minutes max, is that we've touched upon various aspects of the pharmaceutical industry. MSME needs oxygen, if I'm permitted to use the word, for sure. States need to interpret the rules and regulations of conducting the normal operations optimally, particularly Himachal Pradesh. Telangana has done a tremendous job, and to an extent has done some good job, but others have not. So that being said, there has to be commonality of interpretation of the notifications from time to time. Then very important issues that have been discussed, the APIs, the dependence, vulnerable dependence of 90% for domestic. There is a question, I'll touch upon that question also, about how many APIs are being manufactured from scratch. My answer is not more than 25%. 75% are still dependent on China. So we have to bring about a paradigm shift in backward integration, which Gopalji very well touched upon, as to what we need to do in self-sufficiency. If in formulation space we can be world beaters and we can be the pharmacy to the world, why not an API? That's a very pertinent question. We've also discussed a huge sense of optimism from Kuldeepji, and I totally agree and endorse what he's saying. From Dr. Bangara Rajan, we are very, very grateful to you, sir, for clarifying a lot of issues, both from the government side, from the CDSO side, from the regulator side. And you have assured us that there is a fiscal stimulus in the making for the pharmaceutical industry, particularly MSME. We look forward to that sooner than later. My sense is, I think within the first week after the 3rd of May, by 10th of May, something or the other will emerge specifically from the pharmaceutical industry. Lastly, and very importantly, has been the issue of healthcare joining forces with pharmaceuticals. Yes, there is a great amount of synergy. The kind of equity that we carry in the world in 206 countries can be easily capitalized. Hospitals are in very bad shape. The other day I heard Apollo chairman, both the sisters, one is Fiki, president currently, and the other one has been ex-president of CII. I heard both of them. They are currently operating at 30 to 40%. And other major hospitals, Fortis and others, Max, they're also operating at about 30, 35%. The smaller ones are in very bad shape, 10% to 12% of thereabouts, and therefore there's a major crisis in there. Like pharma industry, they would also need stimulus to make sure that they go forward. Broadly, what we summarize at the end of it all is that the government has a lot to do. Industry also has a lot to do. So there has to be a collaboration. The central government has to make the state governments understand, to make sure that you facilitate and you don't over-regulate, you don't overstretch. If the pharmaceutical industry being regulated, driven by SOPs, right, will follow whatever needs to be followed in terms of all the protection measures, may it be sanitization, may it be distancing, may it be living in the factory premises and so on and so forth. Pharma industry will comply, that's for sure. But one has to be practical. If 70% of the workforce comes from Haryana and Punjab into Himachal, and if you don't allow interstate transportation and manpower movement, then it's curtains for us. How long can we survive like this at about 20, 25%? And lastly, and very importantly, Gopalji raised the issue of spurious substandard in sanitizers. And two is huge inflation, multiplier, ascendancy of prices in the gray market on IPA. We use a hell of a lot of IPA, and totally agree. that this is a malpractice, and like the way you criminally swoop down on people who are hoarders of food items and stuff like that. Similarly, on solvents and a couple of other molecules, APIs, the government should criminally take action and take it forward. With these words, once again, I thank each one of the panelists, the organizers, and the audience in general, and of course, the
And the
sponsors.
financial, I'm just continuing it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just continuing it. You have rightly said, but a few of the more point, Mr. Bangala Rajan, please. There is a disconnect between the center and the state governments.
Sure.
Every state government is doing their own. Now this is a national calamity, so it should be strongly, aggressively taken by the center, and direction should be given state to follow it up accordingly. The state, you shouldn't leave it to the state that they should do according to their this thing. No, it is the center's ordinance and the guidelines which are to be implemented immediately by the all states. That is why, as Mr. Dua is saying, the south is doing much better than the north and all those things. It should be central guidelines, so there should not be a disconnect between the state and center. Healthcare industry, the employees, because it's an employee oriented industry, so employees should be given the complete 60 to 70%. Healthcare industry should start immediately or instantly if we want to meet it up. This is one. Second is DPCO pricing on the API. There should be not be malpractices. Third is the commercial impetus by the government to MSME sector, SME sectors, those who are suffering very badly even today, and tomorrow they'll be worst. So immediately they are to be taken care of, and it has to be an aggressive and immediate or instant step by the government should be taken, or by the banks along with the RBI and all those things. These are the challenges. Commercial is one, employees another. 70% at least working of the small units, SMSC units, or the large unit of the pharmaceutical industries, taking care of all distancing and all those things. This is at present, so that we should meet up the challenges of COVID. And after this, we should work on API, backward integration, intermediates, chemical, vaccines, and medical devices. Now, if we work closely together, I think we can win this battle.
Excellent,
Thank
Gopalji.
you.
Thank you very much.
And
I think both
sure, Dr. Bangaru.
and Gopal has summarized very well. Thank you. I think the center is giving directions and also sending some of the states, how the states are being implementing the center's guidelines and other things. So that gives a signal to the other states also. So that will be taken, and then we hope that good impetus will be given by the central government to the MSMEs, especially for the pharma sectors. And APIs, yes. So government understand the importance of the API industry, so they will come out with good packages for the API industries also. So thank you very much for the organizers and all the panelists. Thank you very much, sir. Once again, thank you very much.
God bless
thank you,
you,
sir.
Dr.
Thank you,
Bangaru.
everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you to
everyone.
the sponsors.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.